I still remember the day my wife, Margaret, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Walter, I don't know if I can do this anymore." I was taken aback. I had no idea what was wrong, but I knew it was something big. She just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. My name is Walter. I'm 78 years old, and I've learned a thing or two about life. If I could go back in time, there's one thing I would tell my younger self, and that's what this story is all about. It was the summer of 1965, and I was living in a small town called Oakdale, Illinois. I was 22 years old, working at the local garage, and engaged to be married to the love of my life, Margaret. We were young and in love, and everything seemed perfect. But here is what I never told anyone: I was struggling to make ends meet. The garage paid barely enough to cover my rent, and I was starting to feel the weight of responsibility. I remember one day, I got a call from a friend, Mike, who was working on a construction site in Chicago. He told me they were hiring, and the pay was triple what I was making at the garage. I was torn. I didn't want to leave Margaret, but I felt like I had to provide for our future. So, I made the decision to take the job and move to Chicago. But here is what I didn't realize. Margaret was not on board with the plan. We had a big fight about it, and I thought we had worked things out, but looking back, I realized I was wrong. I was so focused on providing for our future that I didn't listen to her concerns. I just assumed she would follow me to Chicago, but she had her own dreams and aspirations in Oakdale. I was so blinded by my own ambitions that I didn't see the pain I was causing her. The day I left for Chicago, Margaret stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face, and said, "I don't know if I'll be here when you get back." I just shrugged it off, thinking she was being dramatic, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. But here is what I never told anyone: I was scared. I was scared of losing her, but I was too proud to admit it. The months that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I was working long hours, making good money, but feeling empty inside. I would call Margaret every night, and we would argue, or worse, not talk at all. I was starting to realize that I had made a mistake, a big one. But here is what I didn't know: Margaret was struggling too. She was feeling alone and abandoned. It wasn't until I got a call from Mike, telling me that Margaret was seeing someone else, that I realized the gravity of my mistake. I felt like my world had been turned upside down. I immediately quit my job and came back to Oakdale, but the damage was done. Margaret had moved on, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. It took me years to come to terms with what had happened, but eventually I realized that the one thing I would tell my younger self is to listen, to really listen to the people you love. I was so focused on providing for our future that I didn't hear Margaret's concerns. I didn't see the pain I was causing her. If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to slow down, to listen, to be present in the moment. But here is what I learned: it's never too late to learn from your mistakes. I eventually won Margaret back, and we spent the next 40 years together, but I never forgot the lesson I learned in that summer of 1965. It's a lesson that has stayed with me to this day, and one that I hope to pass on to you. Now, I remember that day when Margaret looked me dead in the eye and said, "Walter, I don't know if I can do this anymore." It was a different time, a different circumstance, but the feeling was the same, the feeling of knowing that I had made a mistake and that I had to make it right. If you're still with me, thank you for listening, And if you want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe to my channel. As I sit here reflecting on that moment, I'm reminded of the weight of regret that can settle in when we realize we've taken a wrong turn. It's a feeling that can be crushing, making it hard to breathe, hard to think, and hard to know which way to go. But it's in those moments that we're faced with a choice. We can let the regret consume us, or we can use it as a catalyst for change. For me, it was the latter. I knew I had to make things right, but I had no idea where to start. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a forest, with no map, no compass, and no clear path forward. All I knew was that I had to take that first step, and then the next, and the next, until I found my way back to solid ground. As I looked back on the choices I had made, I realized that I had been living someone else's dream, rather than my own. I had been so caught up in trying to please others, in trying to fit into a certain mold, that I had lost sight of what truly mattered to me. It was a hard pill to swallow, but I knew I had to confront the truth. I had been living a lie. And it was only when I acknowledged that I could begin to peel back the layers and discover who I truly was. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick. It took time, patience, and a willingness to be vulnerable. But with each passing day, I began to feel a sense of liberation, a sense of freedom that I had never known before. I remember the first time I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I didn't recognize the person staring back. It was as if I was seeing myself for the first time, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. I felt like I was waking up from a long, deep sleep, and everything was fresh and new. The world was full of possibility, and I was ready to take on whatever came next. It was a feeling of rebirth, of renewal, and it was incredibly empowering. I knew that I still had a long way to go, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was on the right path. As I look back on that journey, I'm reminded of the power of resilience and determination. I thought I had hit rock bottom, but it turned out that was just a stepping stone to a new chapter in my life. It was a chapter filled with challenges, yes, but also with growth, with learning, and with a deepening understanding of myself. I learned that it's okay to not have all the answers, that it's okay to stumble and to fall. Because it's in those moments that we discover our greatest strengths and our most profound wisdom. And that's something I want to leave you with today, the knowledge that you are stronger than you think, that you are capable of overcoming even the darkest of times. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick. But if you're willing to take that first step, and then the next, and the next, you'll find that you're capable of achieving things you never thought possible. You'll find that you're capable of rising above the noise, of finding your own voice, and of living a life that truly reflects who you are. And when you get to that place, I promise you, it will be worth it. Every struggle, every tear, every moment of doubt will be worth it, because you'll be living a life that is authentic, that is meaningful, and that is yours alone. And when you get to that place, you'll look back on the journey that brought you there, and you'll see that it was all worth it. You'll see that the struggles, the tears, the moments of doubt, they were all a part of the process, a part of the journey that helped shape you into the person you are today. You'll see that the times you felt lost, the times you felt alone, the times you felt like giving up, they were all opportunities for growth, opportunities for you to learn and to discover who you are and what you're capable of. You'll think back to the people who didn't believe in you, who doubted you, who told you that you couldn't do something, and you'll realize that they were wrong. You'll realize that their doubts and their fears were a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. You'll realize that you had the power to choose to believe in yourself, to choose to take the leap, to choose to follow your heart. And when you look back on the journey, you'll see that it wasn't just about achieving some destination, some goal, some milestone. It was about the person you became along the way. It was about the strengths you developed, the resilience you built, the courage you found. You'll see that the journey was just as important as the destination, that the process was just as valuable as the outcome. You'll think about the people who supported you, who encouraged you, who believed in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. You'll think about the ones who held your hand, who wiped away your tears, who helped you up when you fell. You'll realize that you didn't do it alone, that you had a whole army of people who were cheering you on, who were rooting for you, who were invested in your success. And you'll feel a sense of gratitude, a sense of appreciation for the people, the experiences, the lessons that helped shape you into the person you are today. You'll feel a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of fulfillment. You'll know that you've lived a life that is true to who you are, a life that is authentic, meaningful, and yours alone. You'll look around at the world, and you'll see that it's full of people who are still struggling, still searching, still trying to find their way. And you'll want to reach out to them, to help them, to guide them, to support them. You'll want to share your story, your experiences, your lessons, in the hopes that it might inspire them, might encourage them, might give them the courage to keep going. And that's when you'll realize that your journey, your story, your life, is not just about you. It's about the impact you have on others, the difference you make in the world. It's about the ripple effect of your presence, your energy, your love. You'll realize that you have the power to change lives, to touch hearts, to inspire minds. And that's when you'll know that your life, your journey, your story is truly worth living.